Hi, everybody. I'm Desiree. I'm your editor from Naturally Curly. We have the amazing Tippi Shorter here and the amazing Michelle Carnes. Give them a round of applause, guys. All right, who's ready to talk protective styles? Let me hear a round of applause. Let's get into it. Hello, ladies. How are we doing today?
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Good,
We will kick it off. So we are here in the summertime, guys, and we know that, of course, we need to wear protective styles. It can get a little bit hard to do a wash and go, even though you both are sporting beautiful curls and coils right now, and I'm wearing boho braids, but we know it can be a little hard to kind of keep things going. Yes, protective styles indeed. So let's start off with you, Michelle. You are a winner of 5 NHA awards for both texture and avant-garde, which is no joke. What has your career been like leading up to these milestones?
My career was really trying to, just on a personal level, champion for a celebration of texture. I think for so long, the beauty industry really sat very separated, where you had so many stylists that weren't well-versed in working with textured hair. And I really wanted to come in and hit the ground running with someone that really could do anything and do anything with any texture. And so my career was with that lens. So it was always really just the beauty of it. And if I wasn't working on textured hair, I feel like I always created texture or put texture in it anyway. So I just think that like the possibilities for me have always been endless, which is why I've done things like avant-garde and sort of styling and pushing the envelope and sort of just really having fun with hair and making it show up in places that are not intended for it.
Speaking of, y'all check out her hair tie. Literally, she is wearing a hair tie right now. But hair is meant to be everywhere, so we love that. Tippi, we know celebrities lead some of the latest hair trends, like the awards show bob, while Hair Talk has put us on to the braided baldy. What would you say are some of your favorite trending looks right now?
I'm going to say that one of my favorite trends is how the celebrities are really like peeling back the curtain, if you will, and truly showing us their real hair. You know, we know Beyonce recently showcased her real hair, and I was like, listen, guys, I've been telling you that's her hair forever. I had the opportunity of working with her for many years, so I love, we're seeing Rihanna's natural hair, Tyla, Tinashe, everyone is showing their natural hair. So I think that is an amazing hair trend. So not only are they peeling back the layers of the protective styles, which, you know, for these performers, that's something that's truly needed when they're on stage, because you're under the lights, you know, quick changes and, you know, things like that with music videos and photo shoots. Yep. So natural hair. And then additionally, the bob. So you mentioned the award-winning bob, but the bob showing up in a couple of different ways. So the French bob with the bangs. Actually, my daughter's in the audience with her cute little French bob and bangs. And, but then also softening the bobs and making it more pixie-like, and that's actually called a bixie. So when you've got a pixie bob, it's called a bixie. So softening the edges of that hard bob and making it a little lighter, a little softer. So that's a trend that I'm leaning into.
Loving that. A bixie, a bob and a pixie. Maybe I'll try that this fall. We'll see.
I got your friend.
Hey, don't play. We'll make that appointment tomorrow. Michelle, what would you say are some of the major misconceptions when it comes to natural hair that you would like to debunk?
The very first thing that comes to mind when talking about misconceptions is the fact that it's just really rough hair or hair that is indestructible or hair that can be handled in a way that's aggressive. That is the biggest misconception. I see professional hairstylists going in with harsher chemicals. I see people approaching it from a care standpoint in terms of how it's brushed, how it's maneuvered with a very sort of heavy hand, rough sort of handling of it. And I think that's the capacity where it's actually the opposite. So it requires more delicate hands. It requires more gentle chemicals. It requires all of that. And so that is the biggest misconception, in my opinion.
Fantastic answer. Thank you. Tippi, what would you say is your idea of the biggest misconception that we should be debunking about natural hair care?
I would say that I had a young lady come into the salon, and she's like, is it okay if I, record you? And so I spoke to her, and I said, hey, your hair is getting dry. I need to put water on it. And she's like, oh, yeah, I moisturize my hair with water all the time. I'm like, water's not moisture. You're not moisturizing your hair with water, you're wetting your hair, so it's an easier process for the moisture to be accepted into your hair. So I think that's probably a really huge misconception. It's really big on YouTube. It's really big on Instagram and TikTok. People thinking that, I just wet my hair every morning. Well, actually, when it dries, it evaporates, and so you're actually just allowing your hair to become drier daily if you're not following it up with any type of moisture product.
Fantastic. And I agree, if we all need that reminder, water is for wetting. It is not for moisture, guys. It is not the only thing you should be using. So let's dive into scalp care. And I want to hear all about it because I know that I'm on day 5 of braids and I'm between an itch and a pat right now, if we all know what that feels like. Tippi, tell us why this is so important, as well as some of your top tips for keeping a scalp healthy, especially right now when it's hot, it's humid, it's sweaty, and itching is what I'm fighting to do at this very moment.
Absolutely. So I think a lot of people forget that our scalp is skin, and it is just like skin that's on our face. So we need to treat it as such. It needs exfoliating. It needs hydration. It needs all the love and care we give our face. And perhaps sometimes it might even need a primer. So I am a firm believer that we fall into routines, and our scalp gets into routines. So if you're someone like I, for example, shampoo my hair or cleanse my hair twice a week. If I wear braids and I go longer than that twice a week, my scalp is on fire. So I do need to make sure that in that instance, I'm still, if I'm used to doing it every 2 or 3 days, I still need to apply some sort of gentle cleanser to it, something that maybe not abrasive, but something that just, gently hydrates, gently lightly cleanses, whether that's running a little sea breeze through, running a little ACV through, something like that. And there's so many brands now that have like shampoo-less scalp cleansers. So things like that would work, but we have whatever your process or whatever your cleansing routine, whatever you're used to, even if you've got a protective style, you still need to lean into how many times you're doing that per month or per week.
Beautiful. Love that. Michelle, speaking once again regarding scalp care, so we are seeing a new kind of wave of scalp education that's been happening in the past roughly 2 years post-COVID, right? People are wanting to know how they can be better taking care of their scalps as it pertains to protective styles and longevity of a style. So we have constant conversations, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks. How long should someone be keeping a protective style in as to not create any issues with their scalp?
Yeah, I would not push a protective style. If we're talking something like box braids, something that takes a long time, I feel like 6 weeks. 6 to 8 is that window where anything pushed past that, but that doesn't mean you're not touching the scalp. Like Tippi said, there's sea breeze, there's washing braids. If you're talking about shape shifting, where you've taken your natural texture and now you're wearing like maybe a silk press, I would say don't go longer than 2 weeks. Like, you have to wash your hair. That's the bottom line. Like, you have to wash your hair. And so, unfortunately, sometimes we shy away from that because we know it's a process of start to finish, but really think about what's underneath and not cover it up at the expense of your scalp being degraded. So that's kind of how I feel about that.
And could I add something to that
Absolutely.
also, really kind of touching on the point of Michelle talking about having to shampoo your hair and the length of time. I've had clients come into the salon, I just came out of braids 6 weeks and oh my gosh, my hair sheds so much. I always want to remind everyone that our hair sheds every single day. So if your hair is in a protective style, you could lose up to 100 strands a day. But keep in mind, those strands are growing back. So if you've got that multiplied by 6 weeks, that's how much hair you're going to lose when you do take those braids down. So don't be alarmed if your hair is shedding. It's just because you haven't released all of that hair, and you have to shampoo it, because if you don't release it, then if locks aren't something you're looking for, you could get locks.
Unintentionally getting locks.
Unintentionally.
Speaking of, once again, protective styles and just discussing we discussed some of the things that you should be doing to better take care of it, but what are the benefits of it? For those who maybe are new, I see some naturalistas out there in the audience. I see some beautiful curls and coils and waves, and maybe they haven't tried it. I see some locks, my social manager right there, killing the twist. But if you've never done it before, what are the benefits? Why should I even consider getting a protective style?
Well, the main benefit is giving your hair a break. It's no mystery that our hair is delicate, as I mentioned earlier. All the curves, all the bends equal weak points, right? So even something as simple as taking a brush and brushing through it it minimizes the integrity of the hair. So if you're doing that on a daily basis, every day, ponytail, another new, fresh, dope style, like you're actually putting wear and tear on your hair. So something that's protective, that gives your hair a break, is actually good for us that have texture in our hair. It allows your hair to rest. It allows it to sort of just step away from just the simple things of laying on a pillow and tossing and turning, and like it's just covered, it's protected, and it gives your hair a chance to just sort of reboot, if you will, or just kind of rest and just have strength to it.
Yeah, and if I could add, I see my Brady Bunch. You're part of the Brady Bunch. Who else is part of the Brady Bunch in this audience? Got your braids for this, right? We knew we were coming down here. We knew it was going to be hot, and we knew we didn't want to have to fuss with our hair. Well, we're fussing with our hair because that's what we do every day. But a lot of us don't want to have to worry about, oh, now I have to put a blow dryer on it. Now I have to put a flat iron on today or for the next 4 days or 5 days. So choosing how you wear your protective styles just so you don't exacerbate, heat damage, environmental damage, things like that. I'm a big fan of protective styles, but I want to add that protective styles mean you're protecting your hair, your scalp, your hairline, so that doesn't mean you're slathering tons of gel. It doesn't mean you're slathering tons of glue. It doesn't mean you're slathering those things. It means you're truly protecting your hair.
Love that. Protection, health is wealth, and both of you discussed, obviously, different types of ways that we should be considering self-care and rest. I love the idea that you said, Michelle, about how we need to think about our hair being delicate. Aggression is not the key for helping take care of our different textures. It's being delicate with it as it should be.
Can I just add that it really is a double-edged sword, because we are the hair chameleons of the world, yes, right? Like we literally are queens and kings of changing our hair, but we have to roll back a little bit, because with that, we're having broken hair, we're having hair that doesn't reach its full potential from a growth perspective, we're having scalp issues, we're having hair loss, we're having hair thinning. So all of that attention that we're paying to scalp care and not realizing that that also plays a role in the density of your hair, like your follicle actually not being healthy, therefore your hair getting thinner because the strand growing out of it becomes skinnier. We have to connect these dots and realize that it all works together. It's education, it's understanding what you're doing, it's having a gentle hand, it's embracing protective styles. I love the braided baldy that everybody is embracing right now. That's a protective style, and it goes to what Tippi was saying, how it's this celebration of showing like your hair, because not everybody has hair added to that. That's like literally you're out there. So yeah, just wanted to add that.
No, love that. We're discussing, obviously, the scalp care in itself. Can you recommend products to maintain and prevent dryness, particularly in hot and humid climates? The shelf space, to say the least, is very crowded right now. So whether you're new, whether you're an expert, whether you are an avant-garde of natural hair, it can be overwhelming when you're shopping, trying to figure out what is good, what should I be putting on my scalp right now. So what can we do to prevent dryness?
Preventing dryness, like Tippi said, is really going to come up from a place of making sure that you're washing your hair. Water is what is our hydration source, right? We drink water, we hydrate our body. We put water on our hair, we hydrate our hair. What happens, like she said, is water evaporates. You have nothing suspending that hydration and adding moisture to that. So starting with a good cleansing and conditioning routine. Matrix has a product called Food for Soft that has an ingredient called hyaluronic acid. And hyaluronic acid is sort of this like buzzword in the world of skin and hair right now, where there's a lot of talk about sort of how hyaluronic acts as this ingredient that holds moisture in the hair. It's also anti-aging. It also, long beyond the time that you actually wash your hair, it's going to continue to work for your hair and your scalp. And so, pay attention to what your products are doing for you and what those ingredients are, because it's going to tell you, like, is this beneficial or is this just something that's buzzy? So it's called Food for Soft.
Yeah, and so I'd love to add that Mizani has a product called Wonder Crown. So it's actually a pre-shampoo cleanser. You're familiar with it? I tell people when I'm using it on them, I said, you have ever seen those commercials, the bathtub commercials where they spray the foam and the bubbles kind of just start moving on their own? Like you literally feel that in the scalp. So it's really fantastic for protective styles when you just want to make sure your scalp is getting cleansed without a lot of agitation. Because if I tried to shampoo your hair over braids, we're going to get frizz, we're going to get all the agitation. connection, right? So this particular product, the Wonder Crown, actually, it almost feels like the bubbles are cleansing on their own, and then all you do is rinse your head under a shower. So, and that actually has sativa in it, and it truly works on the hair amazingly.
Love that. You discussed a little bit ago regarding hair shedding and hair loss, and that while that is something to embrace and not be scared of, because as you said, it happens on the daily regardless, what is the best way to prevent hair loss? Because, you know, a lot of us are trying to keep our length. A lot of us are trying to hold on to our follicles any way we can. When you're transitioning from one perspective style to another, obviously, we all have different textures. Some people can go back to back to back. Some people do it once a season. But if you are a person that likes to go from cornrows to box braids to Fulani braids to boho braids, and that's just your jam, how can you prevent hair loss?
I'm going to say you need a break. I mean, as much as I would love to say I can go from Mexico to Puerto Rico to Venice to, I'm going to need a break, right? So I can do all those fun things, but I need to like sit down for a minute. So 48 hours, if at the least, give your hair 48 hours to just breathe without being stretched, pulled, bent, you know, shellacked, any of those things. So if you have the ability to give yourself 48 hours in between those transitional styles, I highly recommend and suggest that. Give yourself a great deep conditioning treatment. I'm a huge fan of steam treatments in salon. We do have a steamer at the bowl and even by our processing center. But honestly, you all could buy the little clothes steamer and wrap a towel around your head and just, you know, add some steam to it, just even with the little handheld clothes steamer. But the steamer really opens up the cuticle and allows that mass to truly get in and penetrate the strands to allow it to do what it does versus just sitting on top. So I would say just make sure you give your hair a break.
I think that there are just no ends of protective styles and just styles that we love in general. And I agree with Tippi, like you have to give your hair a break. And I think we can't be chasing these styles at the cost of not loving your own hair. Like the things that we do to our hair should never be because you have to. It should be because you want to. If you want to wear a lace front, if you want to wear braids, if you want to wear a braided bolt, like it should be something that is an accessory, something you have fun with, but not at the cost of your own hair. When it becomes at the cost of your own hair, where you no longer love your own hair, you can no longer wear your own hair, it's not worth it anymore. So take care of the hair that you actually have, so that way it's not something that you have to do. It's something that you enjoy doing.
Yeah, love that.
Love that. In regards to different textures, we're discussing, obviously there's different ones, and it can pertain to your protective styles as well. We're seeing a lot of trending conversations happening right now around natural hair maintenance, protective style maintenance, texturism. What tips can you give to someone learning how to love their natural hair? Both of you.
That's a very fair, it's a very honest question. There is texturism. We didn't create it. It was thrust upon us. And so because of that, we have to sort of recalibrate how we think about beauty. It's beauty standards. And I think Tippi and I can speak for what we do as professionals from our advantage point, and it's really the imagery and the type of things that we're putting out there. So if you are seeing beautiful women that have type 4C hair that are being elevated and put on billboards and skimming through magazines, and you're seeing their hair being celebrated, now all of the people that are out there receiving these in sight and seeing these imagery will start to see themselves and not only think that only one type of hair is celebrated, one type of beauty standard exists. It really falls down to being able to see yourself. And that is how we play our role in that, making sure that we're advocating for models that have all texture, that we're showing all of those different textures, even in positions or styles that the person leading the shoot might not be comfortable with. Being able to say, no, this is really like a beautiful style. This might be ethnic to you, but this is a really beautiful style, and this is going to elevate and inspire someone. So it's being an advocate in rooms where you might not have the control to change what the campaign might be, but to be able to advocate for all types of hair on those projects. Yeah.
Love that. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm going to add too, the influencers are incredibly important. You know, once upon a time, I had a love-hate relationship with, you know, influencers are like, this is my hair and this is how I do it. And everyone is like, I saw this girl, her hair. But I think that's so important because to Michelle's point, a lot of times, you know, we do campaigns where, you know, a lot of times we're not able to pick our models, but we try to, you know, we do the best we can with what we work with. And when we do have the opportunities to pick our models, we are making sure we are creating as diverse visuals as possible. But I love that there are people who have taken the onus and control of their own hair, all textures, and are showing it every day on YouTube, through social media, and all those things. So having those influencers, I think, are truly important as well.
Beautiful. And y'all get to see the creations from start to finish. Y'all have worked with amazing talent. Both of you have a fantastic portfolio. Would you say that social media can create a positive or negative effect on the way that we are seeing hair on screen?
Both.
I was going to say the same. It does both.
So positive in the sense that we are seeing more people taking onus and control of their own beauty and putting it out how they want to, you know, appear in the world. From a professional hairstylist, negative, because I could have a client come in and say, hey, I follow this girl, my hair looks like hers, and she said to use this, 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 and this, and this, and I use this, 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 and this, and none of it worked for me. I'm like, that's because you don't have the same hair. You know, she's a master at working at her hair. She's mastered her hair. And so the one thing I would say is that it's been a huge challenge for a lot of stylists, because a lot of people come in like, this girl on YouTube said, and I'm like, you know, yes, she said it because she works on her hair every day. I work on 20 different types of curls daily. So so it's been a challenge for the professional hairstylist.
Do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, I think what I've seen is sometimes the villainization of ingredients that might be in products, where someone will run with something like no sulfates or no, you know, whatever the thing is that we're not supposed to like anymore, right? And we understand from a professional perspective that there are certain things that are required and needed inside hair products so that it can have a performance ability. And so sometimes we're kind of just watching the noise and the narrative going back and forth and saying, oh, but you know what? You do need to clarify. Clarifying is really going to take everything off of your hair, but then you're going to put it back in. So don't be afraid to do the things that are necessary, but we just need to kind of make sure that the education is following up along with it.
And you both are leaders in education, which is what we love. In keeping to that, last question, what would you say is anything that you're seeing on social media right now that you're like, when I hear this outside of clarifying or sulfates, that you're like, please do the opposite of what you're hearing on social media?
I'll start. You know, I use stuff, you know, I go to the grocery store and I buy olive oil, I buy coconut oil, I buy these molecules, and these oils are so thick and heavy that all it's doing is sitting on the hair. So, you know, you really have to find an oil that is formulated to be a hair oil, because the molecules are so tiny that they actually penetrate the strand. You know, I could put a whole handful of oil in my hair, but you won't feel it, but my hair will be healthier, plumper, shinier, versus if I go to the grocery store and buy any of those oils that are very popular on social media, my hair is going to look flat, it's going to look stiff, because those are simply just sitting on top of my hair. So I would say, like, lean more into the products that are definitively designed for hair versus cooking.
Love that.
Okay, I'm ready now. I would say the thing that I'm seeing that I'm like, no, don't do that, is when I see people sort of become kitchen beauticians and they're doing things like chemicals and color. And Tippi and I are both like colorists. And when we like kind of look at some of the things that people are trying to do in like one day, and then they're pulling their hair out, like it's like coming out in clumps, we're like, please don't do that. Please don't play around with bleach, and don't play around with hair color and then trying to change it the next day and then think that you can do something else again next week. Like, please leave that in the hands of the professional. And trims and cutting, like some of the more beyond maintenance, beyond your day-to-day maintenance, I would say find yourself a good hairdresser and entrust your hair in their hands. They will take good care of you.
Thank you so much, ladies. Thank you all for being here. As it pertains to education, definitely follow both these ladies on their social media. Visit us at our Naturally Curly booth or naturallycurly.com, and we have a list of 25 salons you should be visiting. We have braiders, we have all the things. So if you need your texture education, we got you covered. Yes. Thank you, guys.